Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, everyone. On behalf of Sai Seva UK, I am pleased to welcome Himani Basotia, a current medical dental student at King's College London. She is an alumni of Vernon Grammar School. To speak 10 minutes with us, Himani will share with us her top GCSEs and A-Level exam preparation tips, having received all 9 GCSEs at GCSE's level and 4 A stars in biology, chemistry, maths and EPQ, and 2,960 band 1 UCAT, which is a score I think in 90th percentile and is considered as an excellent score. She also received interview and offers from all the universities she applied to, and having mentored, tutored at school, she has a wealth of knowledge she would like to share with our younger generations who are currently preparing for their exams. So I would like to now welcome Himani. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Himani and I'll try and share as many helpful tips as I can about the upcoming exams. So again, just to quickly reintroduce myself, my name is Himani. I did my GCSEs and my A-Levels at Vernon Grammar, and I'm currently a first year dental student at King's College London. So I think I'll just split today's talk into 4 key sections. Firstly, I'll talk a bit about time management, because I think knowing how to utilize and plan your time effectively is really important, especially as you're approaching your study now. Secondly, I'll focus on exam preparation. So how I think you should prepare, the revision techniques, the exam techniques I think you should use. And then a bit about reflection. So, how to work on your mistakes and learn from mistakes from your past paper questions. And maybe a Q&A at the end. So I don't know about you, but sometimes I felt that when I was doing past papers at home, I tended to perform a lot better than when I was doing them in mocks. And I think the reason is because there's a lot of pressure that comes with any major exam. So basically, I think the key to performing well in exams is definitely having the ability to perform under pressure. And that comes with the ability to manage stress. Can you handle the stress that will come with GCSEs and A-Levels? And I think the best way to manage stress is definitely be prepared. I was definitely a lot more confident going into exams that I was prepared for, but when I just crammed the night before, I was quite nervous. So in terms of your study routine, there's 4 things I'd highly recommend. Firstly, I want you to start off by aiming really high. So regardless of what your teachers have said, even if they said aim for a 7, you can aim for the 9. If they said you can get a predicted grade of B's, it doesn't matter, just aim for the A's and the A stars. And what I want you to do is write them down as a checklist, basically. By mid-April, I want to be at a low 8. By end of April, a high 8. By start of May, I'm aiming to be at a grade 9. So write down those targets. Then obviously results won't happen overnight. So you need enough practice. So practice, leave enough time. I'd recommend about 6 weeks of thorough preparation. So if you haven't started revising, roughly now's the time to start. You also need to make a really realistic revision timetable, and I'll come on to that in a second. And I think this 4th point is actually really important, having a good study environment. So what I mean by that is basically a library, cafe, a quiet room at home, where you can just focus without any distractions. If you're like me, I can't have my phone near me. I'll end up scrolling on Instagram for half an hour. So if a phone is a distraction for you, just put it away. If you think you're studying with your friends is a distraction, then you have to have the responsibility, take the responsibility to say, you know what, I'm going to study alone. So when it comes to a revision timetable, I think, definitely create one. And there's a few things I think you should incorporate. So firstly, keep it very realistic. I would aim for maybe 6 hours to 8 hours, depending on your preference of daily revision, with enough breaks for you to spend time on your hobbies. Don't say I'll revise for 15 hours every day. It's not going to happen. You'll burn out, and it's also 8 weeks of time, so you're probably going to be very tired. I also would suggest you add in some catch-up sessions in your timetable. So on a weekly basis, just allow a 2-hour slot for just catch-up. So for whatever reason, if you've fallen behind on any subject, you now have 2 hours to catch up and you'll still be on track with your revision. I would also suggest that you sort of revolve your timetable around your hobbies and your sports. A lot of you are probably in year 12, year 13, I think, and you'll probably have work experience, part-time jobs, volunteering, a lot going on. So what I would do, for example, I'd be like, okay, so Monday 6 to 8 is cricket, Friday evenings badminton, Saturday morning volunteering, and then my study schedule would revolve around those things. You also need to make sure that you've included enough time to both learn the content and also then test yourself with exam questions. You don't want to be just learning the content without leaving enough time to test yourself. At the same time, you don't want to just be doing question after question without actually learning and understanding the content too. So in terms of how to prepare, firstly, I think there's 4 things I focus on. Using the specification, learning the content, then using spaced repetition to make sure that that goes into your long-term memory, and finally, testing yourself with exam questions. So the specification, I think, is one of the most underrated tools of revision. 100% make sure you use the specification. It's available for every single subject, and what I would suggest you do is just read it and annotate it. You know, take what you know. If there's anything you don't understand or you're not sure of, then now's the time to ask your teachers or use your revision resources and just fill in those doubts, and next to it, write the explanation of whatever you didn't understand. So now the day before the exam, you basically have a revision checklist to think, can I do this, this, and this, and do I know this, this, and this? So you can basically recap all the content the day before the exam. Now when it comes to learning the content, I'm sure you will know what active recall is. If you don't, I definitely recommend using active recall techniques. So what I mean by that is basically force your brain to remember and retain the information without having your notes in front of you. And one of the best ways to do that is the blurting method. So that's basically where you look through your notes and you close the book. You then write out what you can remember. And if there's anything that you then missed out, just fill that in a different color. Another way to learn is actually teaching. They say teaching is actually one of the best ways to learn. So you can actually teach yourself. Just grab a whiteboard, write out everything you know, explain it to yourself as if you were a 5-year-old. It sounds really silly, but it's really effective. So use active recall, don't just read the textbook. I'm afraid unless you have a photographic memory, it just won't go in. Then I would recommend using spaced repetition. So now that you've used the specification to see what you need to know, you've learned the content, now shifting it into the long-term memory. So basically, a day after you've learned the content, just use your flashcards from physics and maths tutor or Quizlet and just recap the content quickly. Then leave about a week's time, recap it again. Leave 2 weeks' time, recap it again. And with that, now you'll remember the information in the long term. And finally, testing yourself. It's really, really important to expose yourself to as many exam questions as you can. So using websites like Physics and Maths Tutor, Maths Genie, Seneca, Save My Exams, just test yourself on a variety of different exam questions. So when it comes to actual exam papers, there's a few things you should do before you do them. So before you do a paper, I definitely recommend learning and understanding the content first, because for those grade 8, 9 questions, the A and A star questions, they'll be application based. So they'll be testing, do you actually understand the content? In terms of after the paper, I think this is the most important part. So after you've done your exam paper, what I want you to do is take a different colored pen, red pen, reed pen, whatever, and using mark scheme, just jot down your exact mistakes or the corrections basically in detail. And then flip through the paper and just identify generally what my weak topics were, what my weaknesses were, where I made mistakes, and just jot them down on the front of the paper. And really reflect on, why did I make those mistakes? How can I now improve on those mistakes? And here's another tip as well. If you encounter, because every now and then I used to get these really weird, dodgy questions that just didn't make sense, and they were just extremely tough. So I'd recommend just take a photo or a screenshot of those really weird, tough questions and create a question bank of each subject for all those weird questions. And once again, day before the exam, you can quickly review, these were the tough questions, here's the mark scheme, here's the method, and hopefully, obviously they don't come up, but if they do come up, then you'll be well prepared to answer them. I really want to stress the importance of working smart rather than hard, because I think working smart is basically where you're using your time effectively. You're putting your time into things that will actually guarantee you results. Working hard is putting time and effort into
So hard work is just basically putting your time and effort into things that don't necessarily have an impact. So for example, smart work would be using your revision time in active recall and using the specification. But something that I would say is a waste of time is,
for example, just if your teacher's given you a PowerPoint and it's got lots of notes, I've seen people spend 3 hours just copying down word for word what's written on the PowerPoint and already given to them on Google Classroom. So you don't need to do that. They've already given you that PowerPoint is already available. You already have that information. Instead, spend that time understanding and learning the content. Secondly, I know usually girls like to make really pretty notes and just highlight them and everything, and I like to as well. But I think it's really more important to just make sure the information is in your head and that your notes are just clear, concise, and only what you really need to know. Also, there's lots of resources available online, but if you want to make your own notes, I'd suggest forming friend groups where you can actually collaborate. So maybe your friend can make notes on a certain topic, you can do a different one, third friend can do a different one, fourth friend can do a different one, and then just share those notes. So now you've done all your notes in maybe a quarter of the time that it would have taken you alone. Group teaching, again, is really effective. So teach in groups, ask each other questions, and immediately you'll be able to identify where the gaps in your knowledge are. One more thing is, when you're doing papers, I found out that actually a lot of people don't practice with timing. I need to stress it's really, really important that you immediately start practicing with timing. Because the more you expose yourself to that pressure now, the more you'll be mentally prepared to actually handle and face that pressure when it comes to the actual exam. So practice without a phone, without your notes, under timed conditions. And also don't be afraid to make mistakes. Remember, you don't need 100% to get a 9, you don't need 100% to get an A star. If you do make mistakes, what's important is how can I now make progress from that, how can I fix them? So there's some key mistakes that I'll go over and maybe suggestions on how to improve them. So firstly, if you feel that you're not using enough key terminology, this is, my brother complains all the time with biology, it's too specific, I don't know what to say. So for that, I definitely recommend doing topic questions and using the mark scheme, making corrections. What you'll see is, after doing specific topic questions, maybe 10 questions later, you'll see a pattern. In every mark scheme, the same phrase, the same key terms will come up again and again and again. And now what you need to do is just add those key terms, that key terminology, to your notes or to your flashcards, and that way you'll remember, next time this question comes up, this is the terms that I need to use to get the marks. If you feel like you're running out of time, I'm afraid you just need to practice, lots and lots of practice. But also, I'd recommend asking your teachers or asking your friends if they have a faster method or a better method to solve the question. Like I did A-Level Maths, my friend did A-Level Further Maths, and sometimes she would teach me methods that are faster and that can help me solve the same question in less time. So ask around, work as a team. If you feel like you're making silly mistakes, I can understand it's very frustrating. That's where I lost most of my marks. So I can guarantee you 80% of the question will be, oh, I just didn't read the question. So what you need to do to fix your silly mistakes, just take your time, read the question slowly and carefully. You don't want to rush through reading the question. The question will tell you exactly what the examiner is looking for. So read the question slowly and just underline those command words or those key terms in the question, like to 2 decimal places, to 3 significant figures, explain or compare or describe, and that will tell you exactly what you need to do. Second thing, to avoid making silly mistakes, make sure your working out is very clear and very neat. The more confused or messy your working out is, the more likely you are to make mistakes. So your working out should be neat and clear, and that way, even when you're sort of double checking your answers, not only are you less likely to make mistakes, but if you had made a mistake, then you can quickly spot it, fix it. And another bonus is, when the examiner is marking your paper, if they can understand your working out, even if you've got the final answer wrong, you can still gain those method marks. So even if question's 5 marks, you can get 3 marks, 4 marks for working out. So just make it neat, make it legible and clear. And finally, if you feel like, oh, I just didn't know the content, I didn't remember the content, then that suggests you need to change your revision technique. So again, using those active recall methods of blurting or flashcards or again, teaching and using the specification is really important. So yeah, just to quickly summarize, I think first things first, having a good study routine, which involves a good timetable, a quiet study space, and ensuring you have time for learning and testing yourself on the content. Then, when it comes to learning the content, work smart, not hard. Don't spend hours making beautiful notes. Make sure notes are concise and neat and clear. Make sure you're using active recall. Make sure you're using flashcards and spaced repetition to shift that information into your long-term memory. Then when it comes to exam practice, again, just do as many different questions as you can. The more you do now, the more prepared you'll be to handle whatever comes up in the exam. And finally, reflection is key. If you just do a paper and leave it aside, your marks will just plateau, they won't go up. You need to see, where did I lose the marks? How can I fix that mistake? And automatically you'll see, 3 or 4 marks of progress, but whatever, it will be good. You'll make the progress that you need to. That's basically it. Thank you so much, Anjali Auntie, for inviting me. And thank you for listening. And I think all of you here can do really well on your exams. I hope you do. If you have any questions that I can't answer today, later on you think of something, or even if it's related to, not this, even if it's related to, medicine or dentistry application or interviews, I'm happy to give you my email or LinkedIn. I'm sure Auntie can share it. And I'll answer any questions now. I hope that was somewhat helpful.
Before we start Darshan, just want to say thank you to Himani again. You have had some wonderful exam tips from Himani. We would also like to draw your attention to how to stay safe and vigilant in these times when the world around you is full of exciting things, especially to the younger generation to explore. It is important to stay safe and be careful. Look and listen. Always pay attention to your surroundings, whether at home, school or outside. Speak up. If some things make you uncomfortable or feel unsafe, talk to a trusted adult. I'm sure all the children understand trusted adult here. Safety from strangers. Never talk to or go to strangers. If someone you don't know approaches you, speak to a trusted adult. Protect your privacy. Never share your personal details like name, address, school names, with anyone online. Think before you share anything on social media. Once you post online, it is hard to get it off. So always think before you post anything, if it is inappropriate or appropriate. Always speak to a trusted adult, your parents, teachers or guardians straight away. Think before clicking any links, they may lead to harmful sites or scams. Stay smart and stay kind.
Sai meri puja, Sai Govinda, Sai mera par Brahma, Sai Bhagavanta, Sai meri puja, Sai Govinda, Sai mera par Brahma, Sai Bhagavanta. Sai meri puja, Sai meri puja.
Sai Seva